And welcome back, footy fans, to another episode of Donnie's Disposals. I'm your host, Coach Donnie Hess here. And ladies and gentlemen, we are back to that lovely time of year where Coach Hess's life becomes footy, footy, footy. As the state league previews are starting to come out, as you guys have already seen, the Victorian League is out. And guess what? Let's join to their neighbors. We have South Australia representing as we have the SANFL women's and men's preview show. Here we go. And joining me, my two faithful co-hosts, the guys I absolutely adore. It's great to catch up with them. We'll start off Woodville West Torrance, mega fan, Darce. Darce, it is great to see you again, sir.
Oh,
Welcome
Coach
back to the
Donny,
pod.
how you going, Coach Donny? Phil, welcome. You can just smell the lemon, can't you? The lemon and the sprigs on the floor and everything. It's all happening at the moment. I know the AFL started, but SANFL is the best competition out there. So look, I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, it's always one of my favorite comps to hop back into, especially when I get to talk to this magnificent human being, caller extraordinaire, one of my favorite people in the world, Phil Aspinall. Phil, it is great to see you again, sir.
Yeah, hey Donny, hey Das, great intro. Thank you for that kind words. And as someone who can't stand cricket, I am so grateful that SANFL footy is back on board. Bring on the footy. I've been getting to trial games. I'll go to women's trial games on the weekend and can't wait for round one of the men's league to kick off this coming weekend.
Yep, I'm already seeing the under 18s competitions have both gotten started and all of that. I've seen some of the pracky matches, some of the results of that. Cannot wait. But we are here to talk both the men's and the women's. A little bit of a change this year because normally by now we'll have been through at least two or three rounds of the women's. But this year they decided we're going to move it back. We're going to get it a little bit closer to the men's season. So let's jump right into it. Since we are gentlemen here, we will start with the women's on this. We will preview the women's season. A lot of movement, a lot of change, especially in the coaches' boxes this year. So we'll start off. Darce, we'll start with you. Story, what is the story of the year for you that you're going into this women's season with?
Well, guys, I've been working on probably the biggest project in the Eagles' history, trying to get the Gatorade and the water just perfect now this year because we may have lost the grand final last year because it may not have been quite right. It's been working all year since last year. I think I've just got it perfected down pat. So no, just in all serious, guys. So looking forward to it. As you said, they've changed the competition. They've got the under 18s instead of the development squad now. So then so look, I'm really looking forward to it. The Eagles, they're really obviously after that loss last year, they really want to make it one better obviously this year, and they're full fired steam ahead. So really looking forward to it.
Phil, what's your story of this year going into the season with the women?
Can the Panthers maintain the rage? Can they be the team to beat again? And we saw the great improvement of Narelle's Woodville West Torrens Eagles. Obviously fell short at the last hurdle, but the organic growth we've seen from them over the last 4 or 5 years, thanks to the great Powerade work of Das, has really seen them progress on. So looking forward to seeing how they go. Probably from a slightly selfish point of view, one of the biggest stories of the SANFL W off season is she's back. Shelby Smith, after having a year off to give birth to a child, has had the itch has been scratched. She's back at preseason and talking to Central's women's coach, reappointed women's coach Sean Ribbons earlier this afternoon. She is as looking as fit as she ever has and champing at the bit to get back out there. So some big stories to come. Also, let's not forget state footy. The women get an opportunity to play against the Vics in the weekend of Gather Round, and then we head over to Perth later in the year to take on the WA girls as well.
Yeah, always fantastic. I know last year didn't go as well for the sample as we kind of thought it might be. So hopefully this year they will get a little bit of rebound and revenge on that one. It'll be very interesting to see how they go up against the Vics. But for me, guys, I mean, it's the coaching changes. Like so many coaching changes over the off season. I know we've got new people in the boxes. How does it change game plans? How does it change the way the competition has been? Because this has been, I think last year we really kind of knew about halfway through the year it was going to be Woodville West Torrens and South Adelaide. Really, were kind of the cream of the crop last year. you kind of had you had four teams in the finals, but I think we all kind of knew who it's going to be. So how do all the changes in the coaches boxes, how does it affect this competition? How does it change? The bring-ins, the different moves and everything like that is great when it comes to players, but the coaches boxes, sometimes games can be won and lost by adjustments in the coaches boxes. So I cannot wait to see how some of these new coaches handle a second year for Glenelg's coach. How does she respond after her first year? Probably not going the way she wanted. I know a new coach at Norwood will be interesting to see how that goes, especially with the connection with the Central District's Bulldogs being the former coach there. So I'm very interested to see how does the coaching change and how do teams look when it comes to it going in to this particular season. And I will caveat it. I cannot wait to see Shelby Smith back in the midfield for the Central
Oh,
District's
that's
Bulldogs.
huge.
When I
Yeah.
saw that she was coming back, I know that the message between these two, I put it in there, and I think we all celebrated a little bit. I'm so happy to see Shelby back. It was hard not seeing her in the midfield last year for Central District, so cannot wait to see her back going after the footy and being the absolute legend that she is on that. So I don't like doing negatives. I try to keep my podcast positive, but we'll go to it. The one and only negative. Who's the biggest faller? Who this year do we think could tumble down the ladder from last year's results? So, Phil, we'll start with you. Who do you think descends the ladder a little bit this year?
A bit of a toss of a coin for mine between the Roosters and the Double Blues. A lot of changes at Sturt. Michael O'Connor was entrenched as the coach out there for a few years, and the girls really played for him. And a new face and a new person to coaching in Ange Foley, of course, some AFLW experience, and by all reports, a great teacher of the game. So I'm probably leaning towards the Double Blues. I don't think it'll be a drastic fall, but I just think the quality underneath them has got better. And I think the Double Blues will probably break even, which might force them out of the top four for mine.
Yeah, Darce, we'll look at you. Who
Look,
do you think?
I have to agree with Phil there. I think any change in coach, it does affect it for probably one look and pushing maybe 2 years. Look at Narelle Smith. It took her 3 years and we finished like second bottom, bottom, second bottom. Then just like that, it all clicked and we finished, minor round premiers and in the grand final. So those changes, Donnie's was saying, may affect especially Sturt with the changes in the player as well. So it may take a year or two just to settle that team down, get the game plan right, and then they'll start moving their way up the ladder again.
Yep, you guys are. I don't know if we're all in on the same path here. I was thinking the same thing. I thought Sturt and North Adelaide were the two that I was looking at. I think Sturt, again, they may be the unlucky ones, purely on the fact that I think Woodville West Torrens is still super strong. I mean, South Adelaide is South Adelaide. I mean, they're the constant when it comes to this competition. So I was leaning more towards Sturt myself, just because change of coaching, how the system changes. There's some player movement, different things like that. So definitely, but again, never like going to the negative. So let's go. So let's switch to the positive. Biggest riser. Who's moving up the ladder this year? Darce, we'll start with you.
Moving up, look, I think you've got to look at essentials again. I mean, with Kelby Smith coming back again, I think she's going to just give that team something of extra bounce. I think there's no doubt about it. I think the young kid's going to love her being there. She's going to give something else. So, look, I really Centrals hands down. I
Mhm.
think teams better watch out for Centrals as well.
I know Phil will like that if that happens. Phil.
I do like your sentiment there, Dust, but I also think that Talia Radan is going to have a more steadied side under her belt. And I think the Tigers will make their way off the bottom of the ladder. Not sure they'll progress into finals, but anyone that's recruited, Kiana Lee's come over
Hmm.
from Norwood. She's a quality player. Obviously, spent some time at the Eagles as well. And I think they've been selective with their recruiting. They've blooded some youngsters. Their development side, I think, played off in the grand final. Might have even won the premiership from memory, but I see Glenelg as the riser of 2026 in the SANFL.
Yeah, I was 100% with you. The Kiana Lee signing and another year under second year head coach. I think the Tigers move up. I agree with you. I think they fall just the tiniest bit short of finals, but it's going to be fun to watch the Bays hopefully be just have a little bit more success than they did last year. I know that it was a tough season last year. I know Jess Bates will be a miss now that she is no longer now that she is retired, but I think Kiana Lee was a brilliant addition to this Bays lineup on that one. So
The other one they got, sorry, Das, is a bit of AFL experience with Denny Van Hagen coming back. She was,
Yeah.
of course, famous for not being able to play due to the COVID situation at AFLW level, but she'll bring some class, some poise, and a bit of experience for the younger list that Talia Radan has at her disposal.
Yeah.
It'll be very interesting to see how that goes with her experience in the AFLW scene there. Fun one here. I'm not going to make us pick the four. I know it'll be a little bit easier to pick the four. So we're just going to go to this. Last day of the season. Who are the two teams playing off in the grand finals? I know last year did not go so well for us, so hopefully we will rebound this year. Phil, we'll start with you. What two teams do you think will be meeting on the last day of the season?
Well, look, the two sides that played off in last year's grand final were really a cut above the rest, weren't they? They had, I think, a five-game winning streak over the next best rival. We saw a bit of a glut of the teams in, third down to sixth, trying to really play off for those final four positions. And it's hard not to say that we'll see a repeat of last year. South Adelaide and the Eagles. I think we'll see a lot of improvement from some of the younger Eagles girls that got exposure at league level. And when you've got a man by the name of Rick Watts in charge of your girls out at South Adelaide, they're like a fine wine, guys. They just get better with age, and it's hard to not see what we saw in 2025 repeating again this season.
Yep, hard to argue with that, Darce. I know. Half of that is definitely the way you wanted to, but we'll start with that. Who do you see
I'm
playing
going
off in the grand finals?
Eagles South Grand Final. There's no doubt about it. I think you can just put that in there, put on the trophy now. I think, but South they're just they were hands down at the grand final last year. But my probably third Nord, and then I'm going to finish Centrals in fourth.
Yeah, so it'll be
Finish up the top.
interesting. I'm with you guys on this. I think Woodville West Tor and South Adelaide, but I agree with you, Darce. It's Norwood Centrals are the two that I'm looking at being
Mm.
there. Could one of them play spoiler? And I really want Norel to make sure that her girls are definitely fired up because the biggest worry that you have is you have an incredible season last year. Will you see a dip this year? It'll be really interesting to see how she focuses her group because again, a younger group. They have had if they did lose a key piece of their midfield to the draft, and again, nothing but great things for that young lady going over to Collingwood. Totally brain farting on the name right now. I apologize on that. Narelle will definitely probably give me some stick after this when she listens to the podcast. But no, I'm with you too. I think Woodville West Torrance South Adelaide, I think should be the grand final. You never know.
Emmy Trengove,
Emily
Donny.
Chingrove. Yep. Imogen Tringrove. Absolutely fantastic. Love her to death. I think Collingwood are going to absolutely love her. I think she was magnificent last year. So much fun to watch her. So thanks, Phil. I appreciate the bailout. All right. Well, we'll have fun with this. Darce, who's going to be hoisting the flag at the end of the game?
Nah, Eagles go one better. Now that's I know being selfish. I know it's been obviously, but hand on heart, I think. Look, we there's a lot of talk. We've obviously haven't lost many players at all. We've actually gained quite a few players, about three or four superstar players. So look, I think with the lack of not losing players, if that makes sense, and the extra ones, I think we're just going to go that the experience now is there. They've had that experience in the grand final. I think we're going to step that one more.
All right, Phil, South Australia, Woodville West Torrance. Who's raising the flag?
Yeah, look, it's hard not to agree with some of the thoughts there of Das, despite his bias with his connection there. But look, the ins and the outs, you look at those as a bit of a sign as to how the team's going to sustain that form, that momentum. And they also say you got to lose one to win one, really. And they talk about that from a finals perspective. I think it'll be a good experience builder for the girls. And a couple of those players Das elaborated on, Talita Buethke, Maria Martino in particular, two very experienced girls that have spent time at other clubs, and I
Hmm.
think they'll just give that extra hard edge that the Eagles perhaps lack. They'll lose obviously some class with Trengove and Luetzi, who obviously are now in the AFL system.
Yep.
Christina late last year as well. But yeah, look, I think the Eagles are going to be up and about, and I think if we are predicting an Eagles South Grand Final, I think we might see a role reversal of last year's result.
Yeah, no, it's very hard to beat a team twice in the same situation. And again, Rick Watts has just they are the class of this competition. They have been so consistent. But I agree that fire in the belly for Woodville West Torrens. Again, I know I have the connections. Coach, you're being biased. I'm really not looking at the addition. Like I said, Talitha Buski was an incredibly great addition after after Trinko being drafted. So I think it's perfect. I think what Woodville West Torrance has set up is they have that chip on their shoulder. We fell short, and in not the fashion that they wanted to. Even Norell has openly said that they did not have the grand final that they wanted to. So I am 100% with you guys. It'll be fantastic to see a Woodville West Torrance flag raise. How good for the competition to see another club raising a premiership flag. So, and I know this isn't easy, but I will go to it. Phil, will go to you. Who's your Smoky for best and fairest in the women's competition?
Well, one lady who's coming back to the competition has got us all excited about, and a bit of bias from me, but Shelby Smith, the class of her, she's like a fine wine, getting better with age. But you've heard me talk of one young lady a few times tonight. I really love the player that is Kiana Lee. She's a classy player. When she's played at other clubs where they've been more successful, perhaps she's sharing the votes. And Jess Bates goes out of the competition now, and I think it's an opportunity for someone like a Kiana Lee to step up and really show that she's up to it, because I have no doubt she'd be on the eye of AFL recruiters as well to get into that next level. And yeah, I'm going to go a bit of a left fielder one and say Kiana Lee.
All right, Darce.
No, I'm going for Shelby's. I think she's the mate coming back. There's got to be something in that. I tell you, she should be that. She's a year, was it 1 year off? Just a year?
One
Just
year
over
off,
the
Just a
yeah,
year,
just
yeah.
to
above the
have
bumps, and
bubs. Yeah.
congratulations to her too. And just 1 year, she'd have that fire in the belly. I think she would be that much fire in the belly. A young child going out and watching, only a baby to watch, but I think she'll be full steam ahead with this one. Watch out,
Yep.
I think.
Well,
But
Phil,
do you know if she's playing this week? Because the Eagles got the trial game on Sunday there, Phil. So she's
I
playing the
cannot
trial. Have a
reveal.
good. Sorry.
I cannot reveal my sources. Now, I believe she might be playing
Oh,
a half, because you'll just go and tell Coach Norell.
no,
that's funny.
if you knew, but I'm sure they'll be out. But I think if she's playing on, I'll be okay. I'll be able to see her on Sunday because we're playing against the trial out there. So indeed,
Nice.
Yep, not 100% with you. Phil, I was, you and I are on a wavelength here because I was thinking the same thing. Shelby Smith for the Central Districts, just because she's always around the football. She's going to give votes. She's going to attract the eyeballs of of the umpires. I almost said referees. Sorry, stop. Apologize. And then I think Kiana Lee's movement to Glenelg could be the way to get her to stardom in the league, because she becomes that superstar of this team. She can go through the midfield. She can be that attacking player that can kick goals for, which will also draw eyes from umpires. So no, I'm with you on that. I think Shelby Smith and Kiana Lee could be two quite good Smokies when it comes to the best and fairest at the end of the year. So let's hop over. We've done the women. Let's
Donny,
hop
before
over.
we
I just
do,
want to congratulate
Good.
Leah Cutting, EU's ruckman person. She retired last year on 99 games, and you can imagine there was a bit of an outrage in fun way with the girls, and she's come back and she will play her 100th game in the first round if we don't see each other then. So well done, Leah Cutting. She started with Norwood. I think she's on the Essendon list for a year, and she's back in absolute gun. She won our best and fairest last year as well. So good luck to Leah Cutting in the first round.
Yep. And
yeah, just one last closing thing on the women. Sorry, Donny, is I know I gave a bit of a teaser to you guys during the week in regards to a bit of an announcement that I've got, but I touched on it briefly earlier, and you can see over my shoulder the state Guernsey. The girls will represent South Australia again in gather round, taking on the Vics and heading over to WA. And I can reveal for the first time exclusively a great honour for myself. Never saw this coming, but I've been appointed chairman of selectors for the SANFL
Oh, good
women's
on you.
state team. So we had our first selection meeting today with Coach Norell and some assistants. And it's a pretty exciting time to have state representation on board yet again. And I can tell you the girls are pretty hungry to make amends for the loss to the Vics last year. So, yeah, it's a great honour. Like I said, never expected it. And really chuffed to be working with Coach Norell and the rest of the team from the SANFL.
well, a huge
Great work, Phil. That's
congratulations,
awesome.
Phil. A huge
Yep,
congratulations, Phil.
well
Huge
done.
congratulations. That is fantastic news. A brilliant footy mind and just as good a caller. So I got to say, very well deserved. I know probably not something you were expecting, but
No,
definitely well earned, sir. Definitely well earned. So
thank you.
let's hop over to the men, which I'm very interested on this one, because this is an interesting season because again, how the kind of things play out when it comes to it. So let's jump right into it. We will start with you, Darce. What's your story this year in the men's competition?
Look, I'm going to have to. Well, the story of the season is probably, look, Chris Burgess. I think But so he was delisted by the Crows last year. He was going to go out. Baskerville played country football, and he signed up with West Adelaide last week to play out there. So that was a good pickup by Westies. He's now their football manager. It came out today, so this is no secret. So he's their new football manager, Jake Fuller, who was their football manager, got a job at Hawthorn, so that gave a room for Chris Burgess to come in as football manager, and he's also playing with West Adelaide. So big news there. Great pickup by Westies, and we wish Chris all the best.
Hmm. Phil, what's your story going into this year?
Oh, I think it's the revival of Norwood. Harry Boyd back in the SANFL. We know that they obviously just lost in the prelim final, but the ability of the Norwood Football Club to not just bring new players in, but to recruit and recruit extremely well. Obviously, you get fortunate when you have players come out of the AFL system and come back home, but to poach a quality player and Kate Dittmar over from the Dogs. We talk often about that eastern suburbs rivals between the Double Blues and the Red Legs, and they'll kick off proceedings on Friday night as the season opener. I think we're going to see a bit of that Eastern Suburbs rivalry really be strong throughout the season of 2026. And I was reading earlier today in the season preview, these two sides haven't met in a grand final since 1976. So I think a long time between drinks, and I reckon we might see that replicated this year. So yeah, for me, the Eastern Suburbs rivalry rejuvenated.
And for me, every year is how much whinging are the AFL clubs going to have during the season? That's always my favorite thing when it comes to the men's competition is how much whinging the fans of Port and Adelaide are going to do. Could this be the last year that these two teams are in the competition? I know there's talk. Are they trying to go to Victorian League? Or is there going to be a reserves comp? Da, 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 da. So it's like the men's competition, the story I always pay attention to, because it's always on everybody's lips, is how are Port and Adelaide going to do this season, and how much whinging are they going to do when it comes to it. I'm also looking forward to a full season of Dougie Cochran. It'll be fascinating to see how he goes because there's so much raps in this young man. There's so much talk about it. Cannot wait to see how he goes full season this year. How Centrals will do with that. It'll be so much fun on that. So again, let's get the negative out of the way, gentlemen. We'll start with you, Phil. Who's our biggest faller? Who's going to be tumbling down the ladder this year?
Yeah, the Tigers are tumbling, I think. For mine, I think the quality of players and experience that they've lost versus what they've recruited. They've done some selective recruiting. They've been lucky with Hunter Window, a premiership player, returning. And they've got one of the best young defenders in the comp, Will Patton, crossing over from West Adelaide to kind of offset what they've lost with the likes of Chris Curran and Max Proud, their former premiership captain. Seen a little bit of the Tigers in some trial games and just not sure that they're going to have the firepower through the midfield. They've lost some experience in the midfield. Of course, they've still got class in the forward 50 that are going to kick goals with McBean and Hosey and the like. Luke Reynolds retires as well. So, yeah, I think the Tigers, I don't think we'll see them drastically dropping, but I think they'll probably struggle just to make the five.
Okay. Darcy, your biggest faller.
I think we're on the same wavelength here today, guys. I was going to say Glenelg as well because the number of players they're lost, but they've also lost that coach that got them to the grand final. So that's maybe change of game plan as well, and the players may need to take a little while to get used to the new game plan they've had with the same coach for a number of years. So I just think, yeah, Glenelg, just with that change of coach, change of quite a number of players, and just maybe a bit of uncertainty the first half of the year, maybe the
Yeah,
whole
of
year.
course, Darren Reeves, of course, the coach you mentioned, he's gone on to AFL duties with Port
Yes.
Adelaide. And then Matty Clark, Doc Clark, who's come out of the successful AFLW system with the Crows. It will be interesting to see how he transitions to coaching men and
Correct.
the team transitioning to his game style as well. So that, as Darcy alluded to, rather, might just take a little bit of time to get going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, and for me, I'm going to take a little bit of a twist to this and call me fascinating. For me, it's the falling loss count when it comes to Sturt because I don't know how you can play an entire in more than two seasons with only losing one game. So I wouldn't be surprised if Sturt loses a few more this year just because it is so hard to maintain that. But it'll be fascinating to see, can they do it? Can they go through another season playing as well as they have? So for me, again, it's a little bit of a twist on this, but we'll Sturt's loss column tick up a little bit higher and maybe potentially, I don't know if they're descend down the ladder any more than probably third. Sturt is sturt, but I mean it's so I was gonna have a little bit of fun with that one. So it's the loss column. I think we're just gonna tick up just a little bit higher this year for the double blues. So all right, the fun one, biggest riser, Darce. Who do you think goes up the ladder this year?
Look, again, I'm going to have to say the Eagles because look, last year, guys, we were absolutely belted, smashed, whatever you want to call it, with injuries. I think there was 28 injuries by the end of the year. So I think we finished seventh or eighth, and I think now full team. We've recruited a few more players. I think will be the we. I think we will be the finish third or fourth. My opinion. I think we will be the biggest winners.
All right, Phil,
Or
who's your
movers, I should say. The word
biggest
is movers, but
riser?
movers, yes.
Phil.
Yeah, look, hard not to disagree with Darcy's opinions there, and I think the run of the green with injuries surely should turn the other way for Source. I think they've lost a few quality players. You know, Mackay going out, I think will take away some spark from their forward 50, but some selective recruiting. Lucky enough to also maintain the recruit from Interstate that was going to head off to the to Port Power in the pre-season. I think it was Ted Clahisi, so he'll be a quality in. But I'm going to say Norwood. They finished inside the five. They won the 8 games, but with their classy recruiting, I see them rising from like just in fifth position, making their way up inside to the top 2 or 3. So biggest riser from mine holistically, I see as the Red Leagues.
Awesome, awesome. And for me, I'm gonna say this again. I'm gonna take a little bit of a curveball to this. Who I want to rise up the ladder, and that's South Adelaide. Just
Mm.
because they've spent so much time developing this young youth that maybe I want to see that time and effort into youthful players move up the ladder. So it's more of I want them to. Will they? That's the biggest question. But I'm hoping that the Panthers find their way up the ladder just a little bit more, and maybe fighting for a chance for the finals.
And you think, guys, it's probably make or break for Jared Wright. He's been in the system a long time.
Yeah.
He's, I think, their equal longest serving coach. 8 or 9 years without any improvement, I guess, from a ladder perspective. Made his way up 2 or 3 positions. They've done some really good recruiting. I think Shellmaker from the AFL with St Kilda's quality. They did get Will Verrill back, who I thought they lacked in ruck outside of Ollie Northam. But Will Verrill, by all reports, did his knee in a trial last weekend. So he's gone for the season. So South need a bit of luck as well. The depth will be tested, but the Panthers are everyone's second favourite team, I think, and I've got a soft spot for South, and I like Jared Wright as a coach. He's a great man and a great operator, so I'd love to see South rise as well.
Yep, yep. It's like I said, it's more of a hope. Whether that'll actually
Mm.
happen or not is the biggest question. But I really hope so because, again, I appreciate the ability. They picked a lane and they went with it. They went with the youth, and I think that's fantastic for a competition in the state league where sometimes it's hard to focus on the youth because the youth most of the time gets picked up in either draft picks in mid-season drafts and different things like that because AFL sides go, ooh, he's playing pretty well and he's only 20 years old. So it's kind of one of those where I appreciate what South is doing because it's risky, but if it
Mm.
pans out, it could be fantastic in the future. So no, 100% with you.
1964, the last time they won a premiership, so it's the
Yep.
biggest drought in SANFL history. Like the old Melbourne Footy Club, where it was 1965, I think it was, until they won one 2019 or whatever it was. But
Mhm.
1964. So
The,
hopefully,
the, the
I'm
year
with
that
you.
dogs came in.
Yeah, it was. So I
Yeah.
think I'm with Phil that it is everyone's second best team because I think because they haven't won a grand final in such a long time, they want them to win one.
Mm.
They're probably starting to get jealous of how good the women's side is.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No.
I don't mean to kick. I don't mean to kick South
No.
Australian, the Panthers fans. I'm sorry. I don't mean to kick you, but let's just be honest. What Rick Watts has done with the women's side is, I know there's got to be some
Mate, yeah.
people in the men's program going, seriously, Rick, can you come over and do this in the men? For sure. So, all right. This is the fun one for me. Grand final opponents. Phil, we will start with you. Who are the two teams playing off in the last game of the season?
Well, I think I alluded to it a bit earlier. I can't not see a Sturt and Norwood grand final. To me, on paper, they're the two best teams. I think coming into the season, we're always going to have the unknown and that element of depth and injuries for the AFL reserve sides. I think the Adelaide Crows will finish higher as they often have done versus Port Adelaide. But for mine, I think we'll see a double Blues, Red Legs, Eastern Suburbs rivals playoff on the last day in September.
All right, Darce.
Yeah, 100%. Again, this is one of those nights. I think the first night we're all sort of we've seen what's happened, but yeah, Norwood Sturt. I think Norwood last year got into the five. I think they missed out on the next final by half a goal or within a goal. I think it was. So, and what they did, they lost the first 8 games or 9 games and won the rest of them. So I think in Norwood and to Sturton would be fantastic to see. As the old 1976, you said, Phil, was it the last grand final?
Yeah,
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 not so. How good would that be?
Yeah,
very
it'd be
good.
fantastic. I was gonna go the same way. Sturt Norwood, but Adelaide reigns as Phil kind of said is all depends on AFL injury.
Mm.
If the Crows stay healthy, which their off season has not proved to be with Dan Curtin and Keane both going down in the off season, we'll have to see. But if they can stay relatively healthy, Adelaide could be that foil to that particular thing. But no, I'm with you. I think Norwood Sturt I think would be the two, just because the AFL is going to beat some players up. They're going to be rotating in and out with some of those top players. So no, 100% with you. So Norwood Sturt grand final. Darce, who do you think is raising the flag at the end of the year?
I think look, Sturt. I'd like to see Norwood, but I think Sturt be raising the flag. I think. But yes, they've been so good for a number of years now, but I think they've just got that one more in them until probably a few changes may be made around the club, but like people retire, etc., etc. But I think they've got one more in them until we'll see what happens the year after.
All right, Phil, Sturt, Norwood, who do you like?
I think the Redlegs. I was just having a quick look at some of their ins and outs again, and one player we haven't touched on, the obvious, is Harry Boyd. But they've picked up Aaron Francis, who you would suspect if you're a Westies fan, you're pretty disappointed he didn't get back to his original SANFL club. By all reports, he's been very dominant in the trial games, playing both key position defensively and forward. And then Cade Dittmar. I think he's a bit of a like for Billy Cootie, who of course got drafted to Sydney. So I think the outs for the Double Blues weren't replaced to the level that they were for Norwood, and I think the Redlegs will be raising the cup in September.
There's a little part of me due to my amazing friendship with Brad Farrell. I'm going to go with you. I'm hoping Norwood raise a flag. I know quite a successful club in the competition, but I'll let my biasy come out just a little bit on that one and hope that we see a Red Legs grand final. But it'll definitely be fantastic on that. So, well, fellas, that is all the previews, and we can't end without doing a little bit of tipping because we're so close to the start of the season. So I'm thinking, I know the women are pushed back a little bit, but I think let's have some fun. Let's tip round one for the women. Let's tip round one for the men. So let me pull it up here. Round one for the women really quickly. We can do this rapid fire if you want to, gentlemen. We'll start with you, Darce. Bulldogs, Roosters, round one. Who do you like?
As I said, Bulldogs are going to be very hard to beat this year. Someone straight for the Bulldogs without saying anything else. I think they're going to be a great team this year, and look out. I'll be had to see them on Sunday, and I think the round one against the Roosters, who look struggling a little bit, but look, they'll come good at soon. Roosters, but yeah, Bulldogs for me.
All right. Shelby
Yeah,
Smith return there, Phil. Bulldogs,
yeah.
Roosters.
Bulldogs for mine. Chatting with Sean Ribbons, their coach, who is coming back for his second stint after some time up with Newry in the Barossa. He's one of the state assistant coaches. Chatting with him this afternoon, he's bullish about how the Bulldogs are going to go. So I think they'll kick off the season with a pretty big win against Kelly Baltrops Roosters.
Yep, Dougie's for me, definitely. Shelby Smith's return, cannot wait, and I'm looking forward to it. It's a Friday night for me at 9:30 p.m., so it's going to be magnificent to be able to watch the return of the legend that is Shelby Smith on that one. So move on to it. Same time. West Adelaide versus the Glenelg Tigers. Bays, Westies. Who do you like, Phil?
I think the Tigers, I think we talked about some of the class that they've brought in, Van Hagen and Kiana Lee. West Adelaide, there's some talk that Stevie Lee Thompson's going to come back and play for them outside of retiring from the AFL system. So I think she'll be a class for the Bloods. But I think the Tigers in a bit of an arm wrestle.
Yeah, so Darce.
It's Tigers for me as well. But yeah, if we see the Bloods come over the top, it wouldn't surprise me. But Tigers, because I haven't really heard much about the Bloods over the season. You're sort of on their Facebook page and there's not much there, but you never know what could happen behind the scenes. But the Tigers for me in a very interesting game.
Yeah, definitely for sure. I'm gonna go with you. The class of the additions I think are really gonna help out the Bays this year. So I will start off as well with the Tigers getting the win on this one. All right, Darce, let's just have your fun. Woodville West Torrens, double blues, start double blues. I mean, I don't think I even have to ask you on this one.
Eagles, I think they are fired, they are pumped, they are ready to go after that loss last year in the grand final. So I think they are, yep, Eagles for me by a good margin.
Yep,
And
Phil.
Lee Cutter's 100 game too. So I think they will really give everything. Not that that should make a difference, but I think they will just give that extra bit of zang.
All right, Phil, Eagles, double blues.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a close one. I think players generally live for milestone games, and we know the class that is Leah Cutting. I think Narelle Smith will have the girls primed and prepped to give Dar some sweet relief come Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I think they'll be chomping at the bit. I think Norrell will have them cherry ripe and ready to go. Cannot wait to see that one. Eagles for me.
I can't even be
And
there. It's my daughter's wedding, unfortunately. So it's the
oh
first game of the
man,
year. It's a
Who's going to make the Powerade?
yeah, yeah.
he's gonna
I
have
have
to
to make it
pre-make it
on
the
the
night
Thursday of the
before.
training. So yeah,
Premix.
but
Yeah.
obviously my daughter, yeah, getting married that day. So, but we were watching it with on the app. No, not all day, not the whole afternoon, of course, but just the
Yeah.
scores throughout the day.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. And then to end the round, the Panthers, South Adelaide versus Norwood. Interesting to see the return of Ben Hunt to the Norwood coaching box will be fascinating on this one. Phil, South Adelaide, Norwood, who do you like?
Yeah, great to see Ben go back to where he started his SANFL W journey. I think he's been an assistant out there in previous years and a good Payneham Norwood Union boy. So, look, I think South Adelaide, we know they haven't lost too much from their lists. Norwood have had a bit of a high turnover. So I'm going to go the Panthers pretty comfortably in that one.
Yeah, definitely. Darth?
Yeah, 100% exact same Panthers. They're a class act, and I don't think they'll be up the top most of the year, I would imagine. So without any doubt.
Yeah, Panthers win it, but I think you get a mighty scrap from the Red Legs. I know that they'll be scrappy under Coach Hunt, so I'm with you on this one. I got the Panthers on that. So, and let's hop over to the men who I know this particular weekend coming up. We start seeing the SANFL footy. Cannot wait. My weekends get that much more busy, but I absolutely love it. We'll start off cracking start to this as we see a grand final preview in round one. Phil, will go right to you. Norwood, Sturt, who starts off the season with a W.
Yeah, perfect start to the season and excited to announce that I'll be calling this game. We'll be launching the season, myself and Jack Hanneth. And the SANFL Now coverage has got some additions to it that we're really excited by. So keep an eye out for some preview shows and stuff as well. So this will be a ripping contest. It should be a great crowd. I think the weather's 20 degrees in Adelaide Celsius, so it should be a nice balmy night. And I think we're going to see those eastern suburbs rivals really go at it. It'll be an arm wrestle, but I think the home side are going to kick off the season with a win. So Norwood for mine.
All right, Darth.
You could not get a better season opener than Norwood Sturt, as Phil just said, and Coach, you were saying is exactly the same. But Norwood Oval on a Friday night, if they don't get 5,000 people there, I'll go he. Seriously, on Friday night on Norwood, on the parade there. We sponsor Norwood where I work, and their President's Dinner, they had the dinner up in the Wolf Bass Centre, that was sold out 2 months ago. That's how that was in demand, and so that's sold out. How many people are going to be there? It's just a cracker game to start the SANFL season. So well done to SANFL. It's just poetry in motion for that one.
Perfect
It's
fixturing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like they shook the magic 8 ball and they came up with the perfect answer on this one. I am with you, Phil. I think I'm going to tip Norwood on this. A great start at Cooper Stadium and Norwood Stadium. It's going to be fantastic to see it under lights. Cannot wait. Wishing you the best of luck on the call, Phil. Hopefully these two sides give you a cracking match to call, but I'm going to tip the Red Legs on this one. Let's start off. Game two sees the up and coming South Adelaide Panthers take on Darce's beloved Woodville West Torrance Eagles. Eagles, Panthers, heart versus head here, Darce. Who do you like?
It will be still head and heart be the Eagles. I think all the injured players are coming back. I think we're all fit and raring to go, and we've shown some good signs during the trial games as well. And look, I think the Eagles be a good game out there. Panthers is not an easy place to play footy nor win games, but Eagles by a few goals.
All right, Phil.
Yeah, a bit of a flip of the coin for mine. South's trial form has been okay by all reports, as has the Eagles, as Darce alluded to. So McGain Stadium can be a bit tricky to play with the blustery conditions there. Sorry, Darce, I think that I've flipped heads and it's come up the Panthers. So I'll go South by less than a goal. Less than a goal.
I think this should be a fantastic one, but I think Sauce gets them going even on the road. Sometimes a good road game to start off your season could be well. So I'm gonna tip the Eagles in this one again. I know I have a soft spot for these Panthers, but I think sometimes an experienced team in the Eagles, I think just gets the littlest bit. But I think this should be a cracking second match to the SANFL season. Let's move on to Richmond Oval as the Bloods. West Adelaide take on the reserves of the Adelaide Crows. Phil, who do you like in this one?
It's hard not to say the Crows by plenty. Westies, though, have surprised a few with their form in the trial game, and any team coached by Nathan Bassett are going to have a structured game plan and some discipline about them. There hasn't been much said in way of recruiting for West Adelaide. They're trying to get some stability off field. Jacob Surgeon's wife, Alison's the CEO at West Adelaide there, and she's been doing a wonderful job. They're really trying to get back to their community as well, doing some upgrades around Richmond Oval. So look, Adelaide, even though they're going to be resting players at AFL level, their depth is very, very good through their squad. And I think the Crows by at least 6 or 7 goals.
Right, Darth.
Look, I think getting West Australia, getting Nathan Bassett as a coach was just a class act as well. I think that was if you say a coup during the off season, that was one of them. I think that was brilliant of West Australia. Look, they're struggling, no doubt about it, off the field. And I really want them. I would love to see the Bloods win a lot more games this year. I don't think they would against the Crows, but I really want to see the Bloods, start moving up the ladder a little bit or winning a few more games. Funny as it, we just talked about Chris Burgess. He got delisted by the Crows, and he just happens to be playing now this year for West Adelaide, who was he only signed up a week ago, but he's playing against his old side already. So good luck to Chris Burgess' new side, and hoping to see the Bloods do well. But I think the Crows this week.
Yeah, Crows for me on this one, but again, I think it'll be a mighty crack. And do you see Burgess's teammates kind of give it a little bit of a go to kind of maybe say, "Hey, Adelaide, what are you doing by dropping this guy?" But I think Crows just too much talent on this one, so Crows for me on this one. Out to X Convenience Oval as the Central District's Bulldogs. Gotta remember Bulldogs, wrong competition, not Western Bulldogs. This is the Central District's Bulldogs. I apologize on that one. Take on the North Adelaide Roosters. As the doggies man that you are, Phil, I'll let you start with this one. Doggies, Roosters, who do you like?
Yeah, I've seen a bit of the Dogs in trial games, and they've been competitive and impressive. They've done some selective recruiting to fill some gaps, but they're going to have to do it without their first choice ruckman in young Bo Thomas, suspended in the trial games. I think North Adelaide, they've got a lot of turnover in their list. Be fascinated to see how James Battersby goes. Of course, the big off-season story, missed out in selection for Sturt's grand final team last year by reports, walked away, joins his best mate Alex Spina and Mitch Harvey at the Roosters. But I think in the battle of the northern suburbs sides, I think the Doggies will get this one done at home by about 3 or 4 goals.
Definitely for sure. Darce, what do you
Yeah,
like?
Centrals as well for me. I think the Roosters, you just again don't hear very much about them, what the recruitment's been like or anything like that. So look, I think the Bulldogs have, yeah, for me as well. They've done well on the trials, as Phil was saying. So certainly Centrals.
Yeah, doggies for me on this one as well, and we will end the round at Alberton Oval as the Port Adelaide Magpies take on the base of Glenelg. Darce, who do you like in this one?
Look, I'm still going to go for the Bays. I think yes, they probably might struggle with. Look, I hope Clark does well. Clark does well for the Tigers as the ex AFL Adelaide AFL coach, but I think it'd be an interesting game this one. But Howard Clark does go on his first game in SANFL footy in the men's. So, but I want to go for the Tigers by a goal. I think Port may struggle depending on just don't have that depth that I would rather over the Tigers.
All right, Phil.
Yeah, I think depth the key for Port Adelaide, and with their AFL side playing on Sunday, they're likely to hold one or two back.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of players at AFL level under injury clouds, and they'll probably make some changes there. So that will impact back down through to their SANFL capabilities. Jacob Surgeon, he'll take charge of his second SANFL club, of course, their previous long-term coach at North Adelaide, and somewhat of a homecoming, was a former Port Adelaide player himself, played his SANFL footy when not in the AFL with the Magpies. So I do like Glenelg in this one. I think they'll have too much firepower. I think there's a weakness in the Magpies' defence. And when you've got the likes of Liam McBean and Lockie Hosey up in attack, Matty Allen running rampage through the midfield as he does, I think Glenelg by 4 or 5 goals.
Yep, Glenn for me, base to just a littlest bit too strong. Littlest bit too strong. It's interesting to see how the form of the power will affect the form of the Magpies as the season goes on. So, but ladies and gentlemen, that is it. that is all. We have previewed the season. We have tipped round one for each. I cannot wait for all of the SANFL action. It is so great to have these two gentlemen on my screen right now. You have no idea how amazing this is. This is always one of my favorite podcasts to get ready for the SANFL season because the SANFL has been so great to me. It has been so much fun having these two amazing co-hosts to be able to sit down and talk some SANFL football. So, Darce, as per usual, thank you for hopping on the podcast. It is
Pleasure,
great.
Donny.
It
Pleasure.
is
Good to see you
great
again,
to see
Phil.
you. Phil, as per usual, and again, congratulations on the selectors, the head of the selectors. That is an
Absolutely. Well
incredible
done.
honor for you. So good for you. And I do want to say one other thing is that for those that have watched the podcast, I did have caller extraordinaire and up and coming amazing caller Eden Abbott on. I'm hoping that maybe we can see her hop on the podcast and talk a little bit of SANFL because I know another South Australian loves her SANFL footy, loves her SANFL W. So hopefully we can maybe get Eden on one of these podcasts here to talk about the SANFL because she has been such a great addition and she's been so great to me and giving me her time and all that. So just wanted to let you guys know that hopefully we can get Eden on. I don't want to kick Darce off, but Darce has volunteered that if for any reason Eden wants to hop on, he'd be willing. But I want to keep Darce on because I love Darce's passion for the Woodville West Torrens Eagles and for the Central and for the South Australian Football League. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for this episode of Donnie's Disposals. Again, if you like what you're listening to, please like and subscribe. And again, keep track for more because we're going to have some more footy coverage very, very soon.